Hey team, thanks for tuning in to this week's live stream of the weekly. I hope you all are doing well. I hope your Monday is off to a great start. So, I've got a few things that I want to put in front of you and things that are reminders and things that are going to be important to be on your radar going through the next couple of weeks. Before I do that, a couple of things to announce off the top. Number one, if you weren't able to check out yesterday's message, let me encourage you to go over to the FBMWorship YouTube channel and check that out. Tom started a brand new series called When Life Doesn't Make Sense. It's out of the book of Ecclesiastes. And this is actually going to take us all the way up to the summer, up to, I should say, Memorial Day weekend. So have a watch there and make sure you keep up with this series. I think it's going to be really important. The book of Ecclesiastes is one of those books that whenever you first read it feels kind of confusing, and after you read it maybe 150 times it still feels kind of confusing sometimes. But there's a lot of good, rich, deep wisdom that are found in its pages. I think the book of Ecclesiastes too is a good pair with all of the rest of the wisdom literature. You've got Proverbs, you've got Ecclesiastes, and of course you've got Job there. And there's other literature throughout the scripture too, but those are kind of the three main that all pair well together and look at the totality of existence from the lens from God's perspective. So don't miss out what's happening here in the book of Ecclesiastes, even if all of the news doesn't feel like good news that's within. Ultimately, when we get to the end, we see that the total end and aim of man is to fear God and to keep his commandments. And by fear, I mean, of course, fear, but also respect, love, honor, those types of things that you would experience in your relationship with your father if you have a good, healthy, relationship with your earthly father. So all that to say, I keep saying that, but I don't want you to miss out on this. Go watch it on the YouTube channel if you missed it yesterday. I've linked the 10:30 service below, so if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can just take a look at the links below and take a peek at the 10:30 service there. One other thing before we jump into the regular schedule, I want to mention a lot of you have probably heard by now, but Julie Carter, her father passed away this past Sunday morning, really early Sunday morning. And so I just, Julie and Dennis, you guys know this, that we're walking with you all. And if you have an opportunity, other team members, if you have an opportunity, reach out and just share your love with them this week. And let them know you're praying for them, I think is the big thing. I know it's going to be a busy week with all the arrangements that you all have to make, but we're here for you guys, and we're walking with you guys through this really dark season. The other thing that I want to mention is that Julie's mom is still having some health issues. She is, of course, living on her own, and we want to be able to help them out for the next few weeks with the meal train and continue to help them out. So if you've not been able to step up yet and help out with this, but have the ability to do so, let me encourage you to just follow the link that's in this video to the meal train link. And Dennis, whenever we talked yesterday, he indicated that a few more weeks of meals would really kind of help with this transition, and totally get that, and we want to be able to help you guys out as much as possible with that. So if you've not already done so, take a look at the meal train link below in this description for this video. Okay, well, let's move on to the main topics that we need to discuss for today. The biggest, most urgent one is the scheduling for May and June. Now, you all, if you watched last week's version of the weekly, or if you read the email, or actually there was not a version of the weekly last week. So all that to say, if you read your email, We sent out some emails, also posted about it on social media. The scheduling that's happening, that happened last week. Blockout dates, those went in last week. Sorry, I'll get my head into this here eventually. Blockout dates last week, scheduling begins this week. If you're watching this video right now and you have blockout dates that are not in Planning Center, run as fast as you can to your nearest Planning Center blockout date inputting device and go ahead and throw those blockout dates in for May and June. I saw a lot of emails come through. I got a lot of confirmation emails from those of you who did submit blockout dates. So thank you for that. I think a lot of you have already put them in, and so we appreciate that. But your team leaders are going to move forward this week with starting today with scheduling. So do make sure that that is in there. Speaking of this week, I do want to take a look at the plan for this coming weekend. Part 2 of the series, When Life Doesn't Make Sense. That's the name. Ecclesiastes series, When Life Doesn't Make Sense. We're going to be in Ecclesiastes 4, 7 through 12. Here's what the rundown of the service will look like. Moving forward for the next little bit, we're going to be doing pre-service songs. Now, the reason we're doing this is we want to keep, we're having some issues with service time transition between the 9 o'clock and the 10:30 service. With more people coming back, that's more people in the lobby. And as more people get the vaccine, more folks are becoming comfortable with lingering and talking, and which is great. You know, we want to encourage that fellowship that has been missed dearly the past 12 months. However, we do need more time in order to transition the house and to keep things as socially distanced as possible, and just to allow our cleaning crew the maximal amount of time to make sure that things are clean and safe between those two services. So to do this, we're condensing our service time down to 60 minutes, and to keep the same number of songs in the set, in order to do that, we're going to start putting one song on a consistent basis before the service starts. That means that we'll use a 10-minute countdown timer. The band will be out early on stage. But you guys are familiar with that structure, so I won't go too much into that. But for this weekend, we have the version of What a Friend We Have in Jesus. This is the Sing Team arrangement, so you can find that within your files there. If you're looking at Music Stand, that'll automatically be loaded. And then we'll kick right into the top of the hour with Battle Belongs, led by Amanda. After our welcome and greeting spot, Kelsey's going to lead Doxology, God Be Praised. This is the same version that we did on the last worship night, March 28th. And then we'll go into the blessing at that point, and Brendan and Amanda will co-lead that song. From there, prayer for message. Like I mentioned yesterday, those of you that were on, we won't be using a bumper video for this series, and so we will transition between the music and the sermon with prayer during this message, or during this message series, I should say. Prayer in that spot, of course, everything happening here with the message. All of Tom's stage gear will come out at that point. And then we will close out the service as we've been doing with the blessing, a reprise of the blessing for the walkout. That is, it's going to be pretty straightforward as far as our typical service structure is concerned. But if you've got any questions about that, or if you've got any questions about the songs as you're preparing to lead this weekend, do feel free to reach out, and we'll be able to answer any questions that you have. Final thing I want to talk about today are worship nights. And in fact, the next worship night is coming up in just about 5 or 6 weeks. We've got another one coming up on May 23rd. Now, before I give you any details on this, I just want to I just want to send out a plea for you to come to worship night and to be a part of worship night. Even if you're not scheduled to be a part of the team, I want to encourage you to be a part of worship night. Now, why would I encourage you to put one more thing on your calendar? because everyone's calendar is full, which it should be. We were not meant to lead idle lives. We should have full calendars and view that as God's blessing on our life. But why am I encouraging you to, put this in place of the plethora of other options that you have to, as far as activities to be on your calendar on a Sunday afternoon? Well, here's why. Worship is absolutely crucial in the life of the believer. And not only worship, but also worship with the local congregation of believers. Utmost important in the life of the believer. That's why I think it should be a part of your life. We are not just building our own personal relationship with God, even though having a personal connection to your Creator is it's vitally important. It's the difference between eternal paradise and eternal damnation. So it's critical. But we are also to be building the horizontal relationship with one another. We are connected to our Creator and we're connected to one another. And worshiping together is one of those ways that the church is built. It's important to do that at the local congregation level. That's what the Lord has given us. That's what He's given His people in order for them to connect. So I want to encourage you to make this a priority. Just like the weekend services, I want to encourage you to make those a priority. You guys, as leaders on the worship team, should be setting the example for our congregation. We should be leaning into this calling that's been put on all of our lives. And so I want you, if you've got a calendar right there in front of you, I want you to mark out May 23rd and make it a priority to be here. Now, some of you have family members graduating. You've got children graduating. I know that that's a graduation time of year, and I know that you might have graduation parties or whatever. Figure out a way, if you're not involved with graduation, I should say, if you're not hosting a party or somehow already blocked out there, figure out a way to make it all fit in there, because I think that worship nights are that important. For us, we continue to do them because we believe that it's important for God's people to worship. We believe that God's people should be good singers, and by good singers, I don't necessarily mean that your tone is right or your pitch is right. I mean, those are important, but merely just the physical act of engaging in singing is good singing. And we think that we can grow as a church as far as our singing and our engagement. So make May 23rd a priority on your schedule. The other thing that I want to mention about May 23rd is we're going to do a little different venue for it. We're going to be in the main lobby, set up in the center of the room. I'm going to show you a model of what we have planned that night. This is actually a similar setup to what we had planned for the April 5th, 2020 choir concert that got canceled due to COVID. But this is a similar setup to what we had planned there. And as you can see, this model I've just modified here quickly just for the sake of this video. So it's still going to look like the April 5th last year concert. But we'll have the band set up here right in front of the front doors. And then we'll have chairs scattered throughout the lobby. We're also going to put some lights in here. But this is going to be an all-acoustic worship night. We might put up a small sound system just to get the vocals, those who are leading songs, up above the rest of the congregation. But our plan is for this to be an all acoustic worship night. Now, what we're aiming to do with this one is to really amplify the voice of the congregation singing and engaging. We think that it's really important for the congregation to hear itself singing and singing along with the band and hear that power that's communicated through that. And so we're pulling the instruments back and we're going to use an acoustic piano, acoustic guitar, and a small cajon little drum set up. That's all we're going to use as far as instruments are concerned. The other thing that we're going to do is we are planning all of those of you who are vocalists on the worship team, we are planning to schedule all of you for this service. Now, probably won't have all of you lead songs, but I want all of you there just to sing and to build this choir of our congregation together as we're singing and leading. So that's what's coming up on May 23rd. It's going to be a different night, but I think it's also going to be a really neat and unique experience for our congregation. Well, that brings us to the end for today's video. If you have any questions, you can reply to the email. You can comment below on Facebook or on YouTube, and we will respond to you and get back to you as soon as possible. You can text me, whatever works best. We just want to stay connected to you this week. And otherwise, we look forward to serving with you next weekend, April 17th and 18th. Part 2 of When Life Doesn't Make Sense. It's going to be a great weekend, and can't wait to serve with you guys. Have a great week, and enjoy all that